Shalom. First off, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Kakadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, the rule and teach well, and salutations to the hopeful elect, as out of prison is truth, and our honesty and sincerity across four corners of the earth. Lord, when it's edifying, just a quick update, or you get more closer to the third woe. All right, now you got the Houthis, all right, which through a source of mine, mainly at work, but this guy, know what he's talking about, because a lot of stuff that he's saying, is in these articles, and because he used VPN to see what's going on in these other countries, all right, which a lot of Americans don't do, but like he told me, the Houthis are mainly a lot of basically a lot of these are soldiers, reformed soldiers from what's his name, not Stalin regime, but I forgot who America was into it with. President Bush was into it with, but a lot of them are those remaining soldiers from there. So it said the Houthis are entering the war, all right, because they making attacks on Israel. So they show you that they never went nowhere. They just probably restocked and re-geared up. All right, and came out. They saying that a death total of 12 soldiers died by Iranian strike on a Saudi base. Saudi Arabia, America. A U.S. all right, army base over there. All right, saying that the death toll is 12. It could be lying about that number. All right, and another report of was it naval ships or ships getting hit, man. All right, so they ain't telling the people what's really going on, but hey, this gonna brew worse. All right, this U.S. Iranian war. Hey, this not even the tip of the iceberg, man. It's just warming up, just heating up. All right, so this Joel chapter 1 verse 15, it says, "Alas, for the day of the Lord is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come." All right. So the day of the Lord is near, man, is at hand, man. The day of destruction from the Almighty. It's going to begin with this war. The Lord going to bring that destruction. All right, because when these wars pop off on the earth, those are destructions. Like we're saying in Revelation. All right, the second war is past, but the third war cometh quickly. All right, the destruction. All right, this is how the Lord is going to judge and destroy this place, man. All right, so it's coming from the Almighty, man, that terrible day. All right, it's going to begin with this war. This war going to get a lot of things cracking, man. All right, it's going to dwindle the numbers of these people in these lands, all right, by, sending these young men or men of pretty much all ages to an extent to this war. All right, they up the age up to 42. They possibly going to up it to 50. All right, but right now it's at 42. So, hey, man, you'll need the Heavenly Father to be on your side in order to save you from these days, because you don't know who will be drafted, all right, to this war, man. We just hope the Lord be with us. They don't come searching looking for us, but if they do, hey, the Lord is not gonna have his men on the battlefield. I speak as a man saying that through the Spirit, man. The Lord won't have his men out there dodging drones and bullets and stuff, man. All right, but yeah, man, but that day is near, man. We getting closer and closer. All right, just gotta stay on the updates and stay what we doing. So, we want the Lord to keep his spirit on us, so, we can, Lord willing, have faith or enough faith to endure in those days. All right, so hopefully this was edifying. With that being said, Shalom.